Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. We hear a lot about Lake Champlain and the issues that affect its health. One of the most comprehensive assessments of the lake is done every 3 years by the Lake Champlain Basin Program. It's called the State of the Lake and Ecosystem Indicators Report. The goal is to inform citizens and resource managers about the health of the lake. Rebecca Gollin spoke to the director of the Basin Program about its newly released 2018 report.
The Lake Champlain Basin Program publishes a report on the state of Lake Champlain every 3 years. We just published our most recent report earlier this summer in 2018, and the idea behind the report is to provide a perspective that is accessible to stakeholders across the watershed, young students to adults living and working here in the watershed, and help them understand and interpret the data and monitoring information that's collected by scientists and managers here in the lake region.
What is the state of the lake in 2018?
How much time do we have? The state of the lake, for all intents and purposes, the lake is actually doing really well. Most people are familiar with the major issues. We have cyanobacteria blooms and sea lamprey problems. Those are persistent, and cyanobacteria blooms will continue to occur into the future here in the lake. But we are working to reduce the nutrients that feed those algae blooms, phosphorus mostly, and depending on whether you're a glass is half full or a half empty kind of person, the trends for phosphorus are doing okay. The good news is that the trends are not getting worse. They're not improving necessarily, but they're not getting worse. So we are continually adding new pressures to the lake. More people are moving here. We're developing more, and we're just adding more pollutants to the lake every year. So the good news there is that with all of that new pressure, things are not actually, the amount of phosphorus going to the lake is not increasing.
So some of these issues on the lake, like legacy phosphorus, are considered long-term problems. What can you tell the public about what it will take to deal with some of those and how long it might take?
So humans have been impacting Lake Champlain for a long time. Samuel D. Champlain arrived here a little over 400 years ago, and more or less ever since then, we have been changing the lake and the watershed. We've clear-cut a good chunk of the watershed at one point in time. We've built cities, developed suburban areas. We have farms now, and all of these impacts over the last 400 years have accumulated in the lake. It's delivered a lot more sediment to the lake, and with that sediment comes a lot of other pollutants like phosphorus and nitrogen and other nutrients. So it's a long time that we've been working on polluting the lake, and so people need to understand that it's going to take a long time to fix that, undo all of those actions that we've been doing for the last several centuries. That said, I hope it doesn't take another 400 years to fix the lake, but it's really tough to put a hard number on how long it will take to clean up the lake, especially when there are always new pressures coming into the lake. We have longer summers now. The winters are shorter. They're not as warm as they used to be. We have less ice cover. That affects the lake ecosystem. And all of these things, with the addition of new people coming in, moving here, new development, that's all increasing the pressure.
What are some things Vermonters can do to help the health of Lake Champlain?
They can take measures to reduce their own impacts on the lake. If you have a house, take a look, go outside, put a raincoat on, bring an umbrella out with you, go out in a rainstorm and look and see where the water is flowing off of your property. Is it going straight off of your roof or your driveway, straight into a ditch or a brook or the lake? If it is, that's not good. Find things that you can do and talk to people that can help you figure out ways to reduce that runoff from your property. Other things that people can do is sign up and join a lake association or Friends of the River association or something like that. Get involved. Find ways to participate in volunteer and outreach events. That also will help clean up the lake. There are numerous clean up the river type of programs. There was just one on the Winooski River last weekend. People were pulling tires out of the Winooski River near Montpelier. Things like that. There are lots of opportunities for people to get involved and make a difference in the health of the lake.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. Joining me now are two guests from the Lake Champlain Basin Program. Colleen Hickey is the Education and Outreach Coordinator, and Matthew Vaughn is the organization's Technical Coordinator. Thanks so much for both being here.
Thank you for having us.
And let me ask each of you for your main takeaway from this new report. Colleen, why don't you start off?
My main takeaway, Judy, would be that this is a great scientific background piece where anybody can learn additional information about the lake, as well as a whole series of actions that citizens and homeowners can take on behalf of the lake.
Are people surprised that they can do some of these things?
I think there are. They really are. And there are 200,000 people who drink Lake Champlain water. So a lot of us have a stake in the lake.
And how about for you, Matthew?
Yeah, so this report shows the latest data that we have on water quality in the lake. And in general, the lake is in very good health, and many areas are meeting or close to targets that we have for water quality. However, we do have challenges that are persistent. For example, excessive phosphorus and cyanobacteria blooms continue to be a problem. And the report also covers other important issues like fish health, beach closures, and wetlands protection.
Now, a lot of work goes into putting this report together. How does it all come about?
Yeah, it is a huge effort. It includes scientists, field experts, state, federal, and provincial agencies, and of course citizens of the basin. For example, we took the report to several 7th and 8th grade classrooms to ask students how we can improve the report and help people understand these issues. We got a lot of great ideas from them. Yeah.
And so who uses this report and how is it used, Colin?
I think it's really used by citizens from all over the watershed. And it can be used, for example, in science classes from middle school on up through college age. It's used by policymakers, farmers, and other business owners. There's a bit of information for everybody in here. And in terms of how is it used, it's really used to deepen the understanding of the current status of the lake. And it also provides data that you can compare current status against historical data as well.
And so I guess there are 4 goals for this particular report. We can talk a little bit about them. Clean water, healthy ecosystems, thriving communities, and informed and involved public.
That's right. So especially for the informed and involved public, as mentioned previously in the segment, local watershed groups provide an ideal way for people to get involved. It's one of the topics that's pushed in this report, no matter where you are in the Champlain watershed or in other parts of Vermont for that matter. Getting involved to plant riparian trees, to do stream cleanups, to reduce stormwater pollution, very, very important. So from a citizen's perspective, everybody has a role and can be a player.
And what do you have to say to the person who says, well, I don't have a lake view, I don't live anywhere near the lake. Why would I worry about polluting Lake Champlain?
Lake Champlain has a huge watershed, 8,234 square miles. So, Judy, when we're talking about every square mile of lake square mile of water in the lake has pollution that comes from 18.5 square miles of land upstream. So people who might be in Waterbury or Saranac Lake or Cabot may not realize their connection, but it's really through the rivers and streams that drain into the lake that has the potential to bring that pollution with it.
Wow. So in the video we heard about some of the long-term issues on the lake. Are there new plant or animal species entering the lake in the basin?
Yeah, so one of our success stories with the 2018 State of the Lake report is that we had no new introductions of aquatic invasive species since the previous report in 2015. More recently, however, since the time of publication, we have observed the introduction of the fishhook water flea, which is an invasive species that threatens to impact our food web like other invasives have. So it's a good reminder for all of us who live and play here to be diligent and to clean, drain, and dry our boats and equipment before entering any water body, and that helps to prevent the spread of these invasive species.
Is that one of the main ways that these creatures get into the lake?
It is, yeah, from recreational boaters and people who enjoy the lake. That these species can hang on to boats and equipment and make their way from water body to water body.
The Lake Champlain Basin Program funds a number of research studies and efforts to improve the lake. One of those programs monitors that bacteria or blue-green algae. How is that data collected and used, and how can the public find it?
Yeah, cyanobacteria, it's a problem. It can limit recreation. It can sometimes produce toxins that can be a hazard to human and pet health.
Right.
And the program is a wonderful partnership. It's nationally recognized between the Lake Champlain Basin Program, Lake Champlain Committee, and several state and municipal agencies. And we collect data in deep water sites, at water intakes, and in shoreline areas. And the shoreline sampling is done by over 100 trained volunteer scientists who go out and look for cyanobacteria. And all that information is collected by the Vermont Department of Health on the cyanobacteria tracker map. And that map shows the most up-to-date information on cyanobacteria in the lake, and it can be found fairly easily on the Vermont Department of Health website.
Yeah, I've actually looked at that, and it's interesting. You can see exactly where the blooms might be.
Yeah, that's right.
And so what else can citizens do to help with the health of the lake?
I think one of the primary things that they can do is, besides clean, drain, and dry all equipment and boats, would be to take a look at how stormwater flows across their property, see if there are storm gutters that they can put in on their roofs to redirect that runoff to the landscape rather than down the driveway and into the storm drains, then out to the wastewater treatment plants. If everybody could hold their water, sort of detain it on their property a while longer and let those pollutants filter out, the stronger the lake will be in the end, the healthier it will be.
And it's interesting to find out more about that too for folks.
That's right. So they can do that on our website through the Basin Program. And we also work in partnership with a lot of other organizations who carry similar messages, because we're all in this together.
And tell me a little bit about maybe educational outreach as far as school kids might be involved with this.
Yeah, we've got some great programs that are available to school kids. I think we visited about 1,500 students in this first quarter. Again, our partners do similar work, but it's a great opportunity. Students can learn about the state of the lake through a presentation about this document, but also for the younger classes, we have a three-dimensional tabletop watershed model that we use that's interactive. The students get to put on the pollution, and they also get to resolve the issues for the next generation. How can they reduce the pollution coming into the watershed? So they learn that pollution and the water flows from points of higher elevation downstream to the lake. Somebody's always downstream, Judy, and we really have to protect those folks.
I think especially after this particular summer that we've just had, which was really dry, a lot of beach closures, a lot of blooms.
That's right. And one of the other ways that we help to inform the public about lake issues is to train teachers on a cooperative basis through the Champlain Basin Education Initiative. We work with teachers in New York, Vermont, and Quebec to learn about watershed issues, because they have the ability to have such a multiplier effect with the students in their classrooms. So it really extends the messaging a lot.
And I would think, too, that for students, it's a lot more fun to learn about the lake when you can get your hands wet as opposed to just reading about something.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so is there one thing that we can all do that's going to make a big difference, Matthew?
Yeah, so like you heard our director say, managing stormwater on your own property is one great way to do that, to reduce pollution to the lake. So yeah, get an umbrella, go outside during a rainstorm, see where water's moving, think about disconnecting the water from your house to the stormwater network or from the street. Putting gutters and directing water toward your lawn or burying it is a great way to reduce stormwater runoff.
And you find that these folks who do this kind of thing become sort of mini ambassadors in their neighborhood as far as, hey, what are you digging up your yard for?
That's a goal. Share the message, and also share the opportunity to get out on the lake. So many people don't do it. We look at the lake from a distance, but especially for students, if you get them out on the UVM Melosira, or you get them to the sailing center, or rowing longboats from the Maritime Museum in the community, let them feel and touch the water and enjoy themselves. They get a heart connection to that lake, and it's very important as we move forward for the lake's health.
All righty. Well, for more information about the Lake Champlain Basin Program, including its 2018 State of the Lake Report, you can check the website that we've listed on your screen. It's lcbp.org. That's lcbp.org, sorry. And the online report can be found in both English and French. I want to thank you both for joining me today.
Great.
Thank you for having us.
That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.